Hello friends, welcome into the Cowboys Report presented by The Guild. I am Tom Downey, and we'll start things off in today's Cowboys Rumors Roundup with some Earl Thomas talk, because there's quite a bit of things to discuss. First up, does he want a trade? I'll give this one 3 stars. It's not quite the 4, because there is one big caveat to go along with it. But Earl Thomas did say on Instagram that he wants a trade or an extension, and that or extension part is why it's 3 stars instead of the 4. Thomas, really throughout the entire offseason, has been very vocal about his desire to get a new contract. He's seen himself get injured before. He's seen Cam Chancellor's career end. He's in the last year of his deal. He wants that long-term security. One note, though, on his Instagram post, Earl claiming he's always been the underdog is laughably untrue. He went to Texas back when Texas was, well, Texas. He has been long considered one of the best safeties in the NFL, and he was a first-round pick. That's not exactly underdog, but NFL players like to play that up for their own mentality. So that's the update there on Earl Thomas and his trade request, I guess. But should Dallas make a move for Earl Thomas? Type A in the comments for yes, and type B for no. We'll stick with some more Earl Thomas to Dallas talk. Namely, is it all just media hype? I'm only going to give this one 2 stars. There is a little bit of truth to what the Athletic's Calvin Watkins reported, but it's not exactly entirely accurate either. Now, first off, Watkins says a Cowboys source told him it's all media hype because Seattle won't just give him away and Dallas won't overpay. The latter part there is accurate. Of course, Seattle won't just give him away, and of course, Dallas isn't going to send a first-round pick. But the main reason why we're talking about this is because Earl Thomas keeps making comments on Instagram and liking posts and saying he wants the Cowboys to come get him. So it's not really media hype. It's kind of more Earl Thomas keeps making this a thing. And the reality is there is a lot of smoke here. I think there is some fire to it as well. And that brings us now to the main question. Will an Earl Thomas trade happen? In the past, we've given this just the 1 star. I'm going to bump it up to 2 stars now, though. And Jason Blockenfor of CBS Sports says he thinks a trade will get done. And frankly, relative to the rest of the offseason since the draft ended, I think it's more likely than ever a trade does get done with Earl Thomas and the Cowboys. Now, with that said, it's still just the 2 stars. I'm not convinced it actually will happen, but it is firmly in that rumor category. I think in the end, it's something like a second-round pick, maybe a later-round pick as well that's conditional. But I think more so now than since round 2 of the NFL draft, a trade is more likely than ever. All right, folks, we're trying to get to 2K subscribers on our Cowboys Report YouTube channel. Head over to chatsports.com/CowboysTV. It'll take you right into the subscription page. Already past the 1K mark, and 2K is next up. We'll keep it rolling with some more Cowboys rumors. Number 4, did Dallas not push to sign D-Law before the franchise tag deadline? I'll give this one 3 stars. There is some truth to it, but there is a little bit of a but with it, just like that Earl Thomas trade rumor. First off, Todd Archer says there were no meaningful discussions between the 2 sides since March, and I believe that, but I think the meaningful part is the main area there. I do think Dallas went back and talked with Lawrence and tried to get him below the $17 million mark, but I think those talks were very short. Tank wanted $17 million a year, and he is now content to play on the franchise tag and make himself big bucks for both long-term and short-term next offseason. As for Lawrence, will there be a second franchise tag for him? This remains firmly in the rumor category, at least for me, because we're pretty far ways off. Lawrence could have injuries, and then a tag that doesn't make sense. And I'll make note of this as well. Another strong year will only increase Lawrence's price. A tag next year would be $20 million. There's a real chance it would be cheaper for the Cowboys to simply work out a long-term deal than to hit him with the franchise tag. So there's some issues there on both sides. On the flip side, Dallas will have plenty of cap space to play with next year. So I want to know, how much did the Cowboys pay DeMarcus Lawrence per year? Now, there is some debate about whether or not he's truly just a one-year wonder. I am willing to buy into Tank. I think he is the war daddy that Jerry Jones has wanted for so long. We'll see what happens this season and how much he earns next year, but I am very much in favor of giving Tank a big contract. I think last year was not a flash in the pan. I think that's what we're going to see Lawrence play, and play at that type of ability year in and year out as long as he's healthy, which is a bit of a concern for the Cowboys. Speaking of that second tag, will DeMarcus Lawrence not play on it? I'll only give this one 2 stars. NFL Network claims that Lawrence will not play on a second tag, which could lead to a Lev Bell type holdout. Now, Lawrence is willing this year to prove it again, prove it his play again, and then cash in on that long-term deal that provides some of that job security and the security overall that comes with a big long-term deal. With that said, if he gets tagged, he'll play on it because $20 million or about $20 million is a lot of money to turn down. Now, the overall highest paid pass rushers are going to change this year because Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald are going to get big new contracts. But you're telling me Tank would turn down $20 million for 1 year of play? Yeah, it's not the same long-term job security, but $20 million is a lot of money. In 2 years' time, he'll have racked up about $37 million in guaranteed money over those 2 years. That's worth doing if you're Tank. So I'll give it 2 heads for now because I don't know if the Cowboys will even tag Tank, but I think he'll play on the tag if it comes to that because he's not going to pass on that type of big guaranteed contract money. We'll keep it rolling now with some more Cowboys rumors, namely Randy Gregory. Are the expectations too high for Gregory? I'm going to give this one 4 stars, and the origin for this one is some of you out there. We ran, of course, the breaking news yesterday that Gregory had been reinstated by the NFL, and we asked, okay, how many sacks will Gregory have this season? Some of y'all said 12, which I think maybe comes down to we don't realize how many sacks people actually get. 12 would have been top 10 in the entire NFL last year. And by the way, Randy Gregory has 9 career tackles. So you're saying he's going to eclipse his career tackles with sacks next year? Look, I think that Randy's going to play a nice role for the Cowboys, but we got to temper these hype trains just a little bit here. Make him into a third down situational guy, not a full-fledged starting defensive end right away who's going to put up 12 sacks. That's asking too much for a guy who hasn't played football in quite some time. All right, folks, today's show is brought to you by The Guild. Visit stayguild.com and use promo code ChatSports for 15% off your next stay. They're kind of like a luxury Airbnb. Again, that's promo code ChatSports, 15% off your next stay. Again, folks, keep those comments flowing as to how many sacks Randy will have next year. I'll put the over-under at 4.5. If he gets to 5, that's fantastic. If he gets 2 or 3, that's still doubling or tripling what he had in his NFL career before that. Let's hype those expectations down just a little bit less. Speaking of defensive end, is Tyrone Crawford staying at defensive end? And again, we've mentioned this before, it's now 4 stars. Crawford is not going to move back to defensive tackle. And there's one big reason behind that. Yes, there's added depth at defensive end, but Crawford has cut weight to fit better at the defensive end spot. I know that there's a bigger need at DT, but the Cowboys don't need another 3 technique like Crawford. They need a big fat guy to play that 1 technique role. That's not who Crawford is. He offers good run defense at that defensive end spot. Look, I know some of you think Crawford's best spot is as a 3 technique. I agree, but the Cowboys like the dirty work he does at defensive end. Yeah, he's not going to be an elite pass rusher, but guess what? Maybe on third downs, maybe you just bring in Randy Gregory instead and let him play that role and let Crawford be a 2-down defensive end who stops the run and provides good leadership. But again, he's not going to go back to defensive end this season, or defensive tackle, this season. One final rumor here for you guys. Is Dak Prescott the best quarterback against the blitz? Well, I'm giving this one 3 stars, even though PFF gave it 4. I think someone exists out there that would take over Dak Prescott against the blitz. But in terms of passer ratings against the blitz last year, Dak Prescott actually led the NFL. Think about it. How many times did we see Dak roll out to the right and throw one of those deep bombs downfield, off balance, and deliver a perfect throw? He is actually really good at that. So don't blitz Dak, which again I think is benefited in part by the Cowboys have a really good offensive line. Even when you blitz, they can still protect. But I only gave it 3 stars because that third guy on that list, Wilson, I think I'd rather have him than Dak Prescott against the blitz because Russell Wilson's offensive line is garbage. The Cowboys have one of, if not the best, O-lines in the NFL. So Dak is great, but I think I'd take Wilson over him instead.